You've always known you were different. There's been something inside you, a calling, a sense that your life was never meant to follow the ordinary path. While others are content with routine, comfort, and a simple existence, you have always felt that there is more. More to achieve, more to become, more to fulfill. This feeling is not random. It is a sign, a divine whisper, a confirmation that you are chosen by God. But how do you know for sure? How can you recognize the unmistakable signs that God has set you apart for something greater? Today, you will discover the undeniable truths that separate those who are merely existing from those who are divinely appointed. These are not just ideas. They are scriptural realities that have been evident in the lives of every person God has ever called: Abraham, Moses, David, Paul. And if you recognize these signs in your own life, you will know without a doubt that you are not here by accident. You have been chosen for a higher purpose, and it's time to step into it. Stay with me until the very end of this message, because once you see these signs clearly, everything will change. The struggles that once confused you will suddenly make sense. The hardships that once felt unfair will be seen as preparation. And most importantly, the fear and doubt that have held you back will disappear, replaced by confidence, boldness, and an unshakable sense of purpose. Before we begin, I want you to take a moment to engage with this message. Write in the comments, "I believe I am chosen by God." This is not just a statement. It is a declaration over your life, a step of faith, and an act of confirmation that you are ready to walk in your divine calling. And if this message resonates with you, make sure to like this video so that others who need to hear this truth will find it. Let's begin. There is something deep within you, something unshakable. It is the reason you have never been able to settle for less than what you know you are meant for. This is the first sign that you are chosen by God, a relentless, unexplainable sense of calling. This calling is not just a vague feeling. It is a fire that has been burning inside you since you can remember. Even when you tried to ignore it, even when you attempted to walk a different path, something always pulled you back. That is because God does not allow those He has chosen to live an ordinary life. This sense of calling is what separates you from others. While they may chase after temporary pleasures, distractions, and meaningless pursuits, you have always been drawn towards something more. You might not have always understood it, but you have felt it. It is the reason why you can't just go through life without meaning. It is why you question things more deeply, why you seek truth, why you desire purpose beyond just money, status, or comfort. This is not a coincidence. This is divine placement. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." This means that your calling was assigned to you before you even took your first breath. You were not just placed on this earth to exist. You were sent here with an assignment. The struggles you have faced, the obstacles that have tested you, were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to shape you, refine you, and prepare you for what is coming. And here is the truth. Those who are chosen struggle the most. Look at the life of Joseph. He had dreams of greatness, yet he was betrayed, sold into slavery, and imprisoned. To an outsider, it seemed like his life was falling apart. But in reality, every challenge he faced was positioning him for his divine purpose. The same is happening in your life. Every setback, every betrayal, every delay, it has all been part of the preparation. But there is a critical question. Will you listen? God is calling, but not everyone answers. Many ignore the signs, dismiss the calling, and choose a life of comfort over a life of purpose. But that is not your path. If you have felt this undeniable pull towards something greater, if you have experienced the discomfort of knowing that you were made for more, then this is your confirmation. You are not meant to live a life of mediocrity. You are meant to walk in divine purpose. I want you to declare it right now in the comments. I receive my calling. This is not just words. This is faith in action. When you declare it, you align yourself with God's plan for your life. And if you are ready to walk in your calling, keep watching because the next sign will reveal something powerful that most people never understand. There is a reason why your life has been filled with battles that seem relentless. You may have wondered why certain struggles keep appearing, why you face resistance at every turn, why people misunderstand you, betray you, or even try to bring you down. This is not just bad luck. This is a sign. The second confirmation that you are chosen by God is the intense spiritual warfare that surrounds your life. The enemy does not attack those who are not a threat. The fact that you have been targeted means you carry something powerful inside of you, something that hell itself is trying to stop. Look at the story of Joseph. The moment he received dreams of his destiny, his life took a drastic turn. His own brothers turned against him, he was sold into slavery, and he ended up in prison for something he didn't do. But was this suffering a sign that he was abandoned? No. It was proof that he was being prepared for something greater. The same applies to you. Your struggles are not proof of failure. They are proof of divine selection. The greater your calling, the greater your battles. The enemy sees what you will become before you do. He sees the impact your life will have, the people you will reach, the power you will walk in. That is why he tries to stop you early. Many chosen individuals experience hardship from a young age. Family difficulties, rejection, loneliness, even betrayals from those closest to them. This is not by accident. It is a strategy to break you before you step into your divine identity. But here is what the enemy does not realize. Every attack he sends is only making you stronger. 2 Corinthians 4:8-9 says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." This is the life of someone chosen by God. You may have been through trials that should have broken you, pain that should have destroyed you, but you are still here. And not just surviving, you are still standing, still growing, still moving toward your destiny. Now here's what you must understand. When God chooses someone, he does not leave them unprotected. The attacks may come, but they will never win. The betrayals may hurt, but they will never define you. The struggles may shake you, but they will never break you. Why? Because God is your defender. He is the one who fights for you, who turns every setback into a setup, who transforms what the enemy meant for evil into something powerful. I need you to declare this truth over your life right now. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Type it in the comments. Speak it out loud. Let the enemy know that he has already lost. Because the truth is, if you were not chosen, you would not be attacked. But since you are chosen, you are also protected. And what God has planned for your life, no force in hell can stop. If you are ready for the next sign, keep watching. Because this next one is a sign that will confirm everything you've been feeling deep inside. Even when you fall, even when you stumble, something inside you always pulls you back to God. You cannot walk away. You may have moments of weakness, seasons where you drift, times where temptation tries to take hold of you. But deep inside, there is a force that won't let you go too far. This is not normal. This is a sign that you are chosen. The world may live however they please, following every desire without consequence. But you, something in you refuses to stay in sin. David is a perfect example of this. He was anointed by God, chosen to be king, but he was not perfect. He made serious mistakes, committed adultery, orchestrated a murder. But what set him apart was his heart. When he fell, he repented. He could not bear to be separated from God. This is the difference between those who are merely religious and those who are truly chosen. When you are chosen, sin makes you feel disconnected. It does not satisfy you. You've likely experienced this. Maybe you tried to fit in with the world, to chase after success, money, or relationships that weren't aligned with your calling. And yet, even when everything seemed good on the outside, there was an emptiness inside. This is because you were not created to live an ordinary life. You were set apart. Your soul knows that nothing in this world can fill what only God can. And when you try to go against this, you feel lost, unfulfilled, restless. This is why so many people drown out their purpose with distractions. They chase material success, validation, or pleasure, thinking it will satisfy them. But the truth is, when God has chosen you, nothing else will ever truly satisfy you except Him. You may have moments where you drift, but you will always be pulled back. You may fall, but you will always get up. This is evidence of God's hand on your life. Acts 13:22 says that David was a man after God's own heart, not because he was perfect, but because he always returned to God. This is what God is looking for, not perfection, but a heart that longs for Him. And if you recognize this in yourself, if you have ever felt the pull back to God even when you tried to run, then know this: you are not just anyone. You are His. He has chosen you, and He will never let you go. Type in the comments, "I belong to God." Make this declaration over your life. Because the enemy wants you to believe that your mistakes disqualify you. But the truth is, your conviction is proof that you are still called. If you were not chosen, you would feel nothing. But because you are chosen, your spirit is restless until you are aligned with God. And that is how you know, without a doubt, that His hand is upon you. There have been moments in your life where you should have failed, where everything seemed like it was about to collapse, but somehow a way was made. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is divine provision. When God chooses someone, He does not leave them to fend for themselves. He provides, sometimes in ways that do not make sense, sometimes through unexpected people, sometimes at the very last moment. But one thing is certain: if you are chosen, you will always have what you need to fulfill your calling. Elijah is a perfect example of this. In 1 Kings 17, there was a famine in the land, no food, no water. But God sent ravens to feed him. And when the brook dried up, God sent him to a widow who had almost nothing left. She thought she and her son would die, but because she obeyed the voice of God, her flour and oil never ran out. This is what happens when you are chosen. Provision comes, even when it looks impossible. Think about your own life. Have you ever been in a situation where you had nothing, no money, no options, no plan, yet somehow you made it through? Maybe you lost a job, but an unexpected opportunity appeared. Maybe you faced an impossible challenge, yet doors opened in ways you never expected. That is not by accident. That is God's provision. When you are chosen, He ensures that you have exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. But here's what most people don't realize. God's provision is not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like rejection. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it looks like being pushed out of a situation you thought you needed. But when you look back, you realize that what felt like a setback was actually God redirecting you to something better. Every closed door, every delay, every unexpected shift, it was all part of His plan. Joseph was sold into slavery. That looked like loss, but in reality it was a setup for the palace. He was thrown into prison. Another loss. But that prison was the very place where he met the man who would later introduce him to Pharaoh. Everything that seemed like a failure was actually God's provision in disguise. The same is true for you. If something was removed from your life, if something didn't work out, trust that God is making room for something greater. I want you to write this in the comments. God is my provider. Declare it. Because when you understand that God is your source, you will never fear lack. You will never panic when things don't go as planned. Because you will know, deep in your spirit, that the God who called you is the same God who will sustain you. And if you are ready for the next sign, keep watching, because this one will reveal why you have always felt the weight of others' burdens. While others focus only on themselves, their success, their comfort, their personal goals, you have always felt something deeper. You have carried a burden for others, a weight that you cannot ignore. When you see suffering, injustice, or pain, you feel it in your soul. This is not just empathy. This is divine. This is a sign that you are chosen by God, because when He sets someone apart, He places His heart inside of them. Nehemiah was living in the palace. He had wealth, influence, comfort. But when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem were in ruins, he wept, he fasted, he prayed. Why? Because when you are chosen, you cannot ignore the needs of others. You cannot be comfortable while the world around you is broken. You feel the weight of responsibility. You feel called to make a difference. You have probably felt this yourself. Maybe you have given when you didn't have much. Maybe you have prayed for people who didn't even know you were interceding for them. Maybe you have felt a calling to lead, to serve, to stand up for something bigger than yourself, even when it made no sense. This is because you are not just anyone. You are chosen. And those who are chosen carry God's burden for the world. Moses could have lived an easy life in Pharaoh's palace, but he could not ignore the suffering of his people. He tried to blend in, to stay comfortable, but his burden would not let him. Eventually, God called him to lead millions out of slavery. The same is happening with you. You may not understand why you feel so deeply, why you cannot ignore what others walk past, but this is your confirmation. It is because God has given you His heart. But understand this burden is not always easy. There will be times when you feel alone in it, when you wonder why no one else seems to care the way you do. There will be moments when you question why God has placed this weight on you. But hear this: He does not give this burden to just anyone. He gives it to those He trusts, to those He has chosen. And if you feel it, it is because you are meant to carry it. I want you to declare this in the comments. I carry God's heart. Because when you embrace this, everything changes. You stop questioning why you feel different. You stop resisting the burden. Instead, you step into your purpose with confidence, knowing that what you feel is not a burden. It is a calling. And the next sign will confirm why some people were removed from your life, even when you didn't understand why. There have been people in your life who walked away, friendships that ended unexpectedly, relationships that fell apart, opportunities that disappeared, and you wondered why. You questioned if you did something wrong, if you could have changed the outcome. But here's what you need to know. When you are chosen by God, He separates you from people who cannot go where He is taking you. Moses had to leave Pharaoh's palace before he could step into his calling. Joseph had to be separated from his brothers before he could reach his destiny. Sometimes, separation is painful. Sometimes, it comes through betrayal, misunderstandings, or sudden distance. Other times, it happens gradually, as you outgrow old relationships, as your values shift, as God begins pulling you in a different direction. You may have noticed this. Friendships that once felt strong now feel empty. Conversations that once excited you now seem meaningless. People you thought would be in your life forever are suddenly gone. This is not by accident. This is divine. Because some people are not meant to go where you are going. Some people are distractions. Some people would hold you back, and God in His wisdom removes them, even when it hurts. Joseph's own brothers betrayed him. The very people who should have supported him threw him into a pit. But what they meant for evil, God used for good. Because without that betrayal, Joseph would have never made it to the palace. Some of the people who left your life were not a loss. They were a necessary part of your journey. They had to go so that you could grow. But here's the key. You must stop looking back. Stop trying to hold on to what God has removed. Stop trying to force connections that were never meant to last. Because every person who left was making room for something greater. And if you continue to move forward, you will see that what God has prepared for you is far greater than anything you lost. Write this in the comments. I trust God's plan. Because when you truly trust Him, you stop mourning what was removed and start preparing for what is coming. And what's coming is better, greater, and more powerful than anything you can imagine. There are things you have been through that should have destroyed you. There were moments where you thought you wouldn't make it. Times when the pressure was too much, when the loss was unbearable, when the betrayal was too deep. Yet, you are still standing. That is not by accident. The enemy has tried everything to stop you. He has attacked your mind, your finances, your relationships, your peace. He has used people against you, circumstances against you, and even your own thoughts against you. But through it all, God never let you be defeated. Look at Paul. In 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, he says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." This is the life of someone chosen by God. The attacks come, but they do not win. The storms rage, but they do not break you. And the reason is simple. You are not fighting alone. Look at Job. He lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health. The enemy tried to take everything from him. But in the end, God restored him and gave him double of what he had lost. That is what happens when you are chosen. The battle is real, but so is God's protection over your life. You have been through the fire, yet you are still here. You have faced battles that others did not survive, yet you are still standing. That is because God's hand is on your life, and no attack of the enemy can change what He has planned for you. This is the final and greatest sign that you are chosen. You have been attacked, but never defeated. And if you are still here, that means God is not finished with you yet. If you recognize this truth in your own life, If you know that God has carried you through battles that should have destroyed you, then get ready. Because what's ahead is greater than what's behind. Write this in the comments. I am still standing. Declare it over your life. Because the fact that you are still here is proof that God is not done with you. The enemy tried, but he failed. The storms came, but they passed. And now you are stepping into the fullness of your calling. If you are ready to take that step, stay with me until the end, because everything you've been through has been preparing you for what comes next. Your entire life has been proof that you are chosen. The calling, the battles, the conviction, the provision, the burden for others, the separation from people who could not go where God was taking you, all of it has been leading to this moment. But the question now is, what will you do with it? Being chosen is not just about knowing, it is about acting. Will you step into your purpose, or will you let fear hold you back? Look at Moses. He was chosen, but he doubted himself. He questioned whether he was capable, whether he had the strength, whether he could truly be who God called him to be. But God did not choose him because he was perfect. He chose him because he was willing. And the same is true for you. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for surrender. He is looking for those who will say, "Yes, Lord, use me." Some of you have been running from your calling. You have felt the signs. You have known deep down that you were meant for more. But fear, doubt, and distractions have kept you stuck. But that ends today. The time for hesitation is over. The battles you have faced were not just to make you stronger. They were to prepare you for what comes next. Everything you have been through has been for a reason. The question is, will you embrace it? Write this in the comments. I say yes to my calling. This is not just a statement, it is a decision. It is an act of faith. It is a declaration that you will no longer allow fear to hold you back. Because the truth is, you were never meant to live an ordinary life. You were chosen for something greater. And now, it is time to step into it. Stay with me, because we are about to enter the final revelation that will shift everything for you. If this message has spoken to you, make sure to like this video so that others who need to hear this will find it. And if you are ready to walk in your calling, let's go even deeper. You have always felt different. No matter how much you try to blend in, something inside you refuses to conform. While others are satisfied with the ordinary, you crave something more. While others chase after temporary pleasures, you seek deeper meaning. This is not a coincidence. It is a sign that you have been set apart. God does not allow those he has chosen to settle for less than what they were created for. From a young age, you have noticed that you don't think like everyone else. You question things more deeply. You see beyond the surface. You feel things others overlook. This is because God has placed something inside you that cannot be satisfied by the things of this world. You are not meant to fit in. You are meant to stand out. And as uncomfortable as it may feel at times, this is confirmation of your calling. The Bible says in Romans 12:2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." The world will try to shape you, to make you follow its ways, to pressure you into being like everyone else. But when God has chosen you, you will always feel out of place in environments that do not align with your purpose. The reason you feel disconnected from worldly pursuits is because your spirit knows there is more. Think about your life. Have you ever tried to follow the crowd, only to feel empty? Have you ever chased after something the world told you would make you happy, only to realize it didn't fulfill you? This is not because you are missing something. It is because you were created for something greater. God has placed eternity in your heart, and nothing temporary will ever satisfy you. This is why you have struggled with feeling misunderstood. The people around you may not see what you see. They may not understand why you can't just settle, but that's okay. They were not meant to understand your journey because they were not given your calling. The truth is, when you are chosen, you will walk a different path than most people. And while that may feel lonely at times, it is leading you to something far greater than you can imagine. Write this in the comments. I am set apart. Because the moment you accept that you were never meant to fit in, you will stop trying to. You will stop seeking validation from people who cannot see your purpose. You will stop lowering yourself to fit where you do not belong. Instead, you will embrace the truth. You were created to stand out, to lead, to shine. And if you are ready to step fully into that, keep watching, because what's next will confirm why your entire life has felt like preparation. Everything you have been through has been part of a divine process. The struggles, the battles, the moments of doubt, they were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to refine you. God does not just call someone and place them directly into their destiny. He first prepares them. And that preparation is not always easy. In fact, it often looks like the exact opposite of what you expected. Look at Joseph. He had a vision of greatness. But before he could step into that vision, he went through years of hardship. He was betrayed by his own family. He was sold into slavery. He was falsely accused and thrown into prison. To an outsider, it looked like his life was falling apart. But in reality, everything was leading him to the palace. Every trial was a step toward his destiny. This is what many people fail to understand. They think that being chosen means immediate success, immediate favor, immediate recognition. But the truth is, before God elevates you, He tests you. Before He gives you influence, He ensures you have the character to handle it. Before He places you in a position of purpose, He makes sure you are ready. And that readiness comes through trials, through pain, through moments that feel like setbacks. You may have felt like your life has been one battle after another, like every time you get close to a breakthrough, something tries to stop you. But here's the truth. Every great person in the Bible went through intense preparation before stepping into their calling. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before leading his people. David was anointed as king, but spent years running for his life before he ever wore the crown. Jesus himself spent time in the wilderness, being tested, before beginning his ministry. So if you have been in a season of struggle, do not be discouraged. This is not punishment. This is preparation. This is God making sure that when He places you in your destiny, you are strong enough to carry it. And when that moment comes, everything you have been through will make sense. You will see that the pain had a purpose. The delays were not denials. The struggles were strengthening you. Write this in the comments. My pain has a purpose. Because when you understand that everything is preparation, you stop resisting it. You stop questioning why things are hard and start seeing them as training. And if you are ready to step into the next level of your calling, keep watching. Because what comes next will show you why the enemy has been fighting you so hard. The enemy does not attack people who are not a threat. If you have faced relentless battles, if you have gone through season after season of attack, there is a reason. The reason is that hell sees what you carry. The reason is that your life is dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. The moment you begin to walk in your purpose, you become a threat. And that is why the attacks have been so intense. Look at Jesus. The moment he was born, the enemy tried to kill him. Herod sent out a decree to murder all the newborn boys in an attempt to stop him before he could grow into his calling. This is the same strategy the enemy uses today. He tries to destroy those who are chosen before they step into their destiny. That is why so many people who are called experience hardship from a young age. The enemy tries to break them before they can rise. But here is what the enemy does not realize. Every attack only strengthens you. Every battle only sharpens your faith. Every setback only sets you up for a comeback. The very things he tried to use to destroy you are the same things God will use to elevate you. Just like Joseph's betrayal positioned him for the palace, your battles are positioning you for something greater. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." Your battle is not just physical, it is spiritual. And when you begin to recognize that, you will stop fighting with natural weapons. You will stop seeing your struggles as random and start seeing them as confirmation that you are chosen. The enemy wants you to give up. He wants you to believe that the battles mean you are on the wrong path. But the opposite is true. The battle is proof that you are right where you need to be. The battle is proof that you are stepping into something powerful. The battle is proof that your calling is real. Write this in the comments. I am a warrior. Because that is exactly what you are. You have survived things that should have taken you out. You have overcome attacks that were meant to break you. And you are still standing. That is not by accident. That is by design. And if you are ready to step fully into your authority, keep watching. Because what comes next will unlock a level of confidence you have never known before. There is a weight you carry that others do not. It is not just the weight of your own struggles, but the weight of a calling far greater than yourself. You have felt it in moments of silence, in times when no one was watching, in the depths of your spirit where words cannot reach. It is a pull, a stirring, an urgency that refuses to let you settle. This is not your imagination. This is your confirmation. God has placed something inside you that must be released into the world. Many people live their entire lives ignoring this calling. They drown it out with distractions, with comfort, with the pursuit of temporary things. But you, no matter how much you try to silence it, no matter how much you try to walk away, it follows you. Because when God marks someone, He does not let them go. You were chosen before you even understood what it meant. And now, the choice is yours. Will you embrace it, or will you run? Think about the moments in your life where you felt this most deeply. Maybe it was a time when you felt disconnected from the world, but deeply connected to something greater. Maybe it was a season of struggle that forced you to see life differently. Maybe it was in your victories, your breakthroughs, the moments when you realized that everything you had been through was shaping you for something bigger. The calling has always been there. The only question is, will you answer it? Isaiah 6:8 says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here am I. Send me.'" This is the moment where you must decide. God does not force anyone into their calling. He presents the opportunity, He prepares the way, but the choice to step into it is always yours. And when you say yes, when you surrender to the purpose He has placed on your life, everything changes. But let me be honest with you. Walking in your calling is not easy. It requires faith when nothing makes sense. It demands sacrifice when others are choosing comfort. It means letting go of fear, doubt, and insecurity. But here is the truth. What God has for you is worth it. The impact you will have, the lives you will touch, the transformation you will bring, it is all waiting on the other side of your obedience. Write this in the comments. I say yes to my calling. This is not just a declaration, it is a commitment. A commitment to trust God, to walk by faith, to refuse to let fear stop you. Because the truth is, you are not just meant to exist. You are meant to transform, to lead, to carry God's power into the world. And if you are ready to take that step, keep watching, because we are about to enter the final revelation that will solidify everything you have just heard. There are moments in life when everything feels like a test. You have wondered why things seem harder for you than for others, why every step forward seems to be met with resistance, why you often feel isolated, misunderstood, or even rejected. Let me tell you something, this is not a punishment, this is a sign. When God chooses someone for a great purpose, He first takes them through a season of refinement. Look at Moses. Before he led millions out of slavery, he spent years alone in the wilderness. Look at David. Before he became king, he was rejected, hunted, and forced to hide in caves. Look at Jesus. Before he started his ministry, he fasted for 40 days in the desert, facing temptation and trials. Every person who was chosen had to go through a season of preparation, and you are no different. You may not understand it now. You may be asking God, why is this happening to me? But hear this. The fire you are walking through is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to refine you. God does not send people into their purpose without first testing their character, their endurance, their faith. He allows trials not to break you, but to shape you. Because the greater the calling, the greater the preparation. Think about what you have been through. The times you felt abandoned. The times you faced battles that no one knew about. The times you questioned whether you were strong enough to keep going. But look at you. You are still here. You are still standing. And that is because God has been with you in every step of the process. You may not have seen it, but He has been guiding, strengthening, and preparing you. James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This is exactly what is happening in your life. Every challenge has been building you, making you stronger, wiser, and more ready for what is coming. Write this in the comments. My trials are preparing me. What declare it over your life? Because when you shift your mindset, when you start seeing struggles as training instead of punishment, everything changes. You stop asking why me and start saying, thank you, God, for making me stronger. And if you are ready to embrace this process fully, stay with me. Because what's coming next will reveal why your journey has been different from everyone else's. You have probably noticed that your path has never been like everyone else's. While others seem to have smooth journeys, yours has been filled with unexpected turns, closed doors, and divine interruptions. This is because when God chooses someone, He does not let them take shortcuts. He does not allow them to settle for anything less than what He has planned. And sometimes, that means removing things, people, and opportunities that were never meant for you. There have been people who walked away from your life. Opportunities you thought were perfect that suddenly disappeared. Doors that closed right when you thought you were about to step into something great. And at the time, it felt like loss. But in reality, it was protection. God saw what you couldn't see. He knew where those paths would lead, and because He loves you too much to let you settle, He redirected you. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. What looked like the ultimate betrayal was actually the setup for his destiny. If they had never turned against him, he would have never ended up in Egypt. If he had never gone to Egypt, he would have never risen to power. What the enemy meant for evil, God used for good. And the same is true in your life. The things that were taken from you were never meant to be part of your future. When God removes someone or something from your life, do not fight to keep it. Do not chase after what He has already closed. Because every time God takes something away, it is because He is making space for something better. He is positioning you, just like He did with Joseph, just like He did with David, just like He has done with every person He has called. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." This is your confirmation. Stop questioning why things happened the way they did. Stop looking back. Stop trying to understand everything. Instead, trust that God knows exactly what He is doing. Write this in the comments. I trust God's plan. Because when you fully trust Him, you will no longer see closed doors as rejection. You will see them as redirection. And if you are ready to fully surrender to this process, keep watching, because what's coming next will show you how God is preparing to elevate you in ways you never imagined. The struggles you have faced, the battles you have fought, the things you have overcome, none of it has been wasted. Every tear, every sacrifice, every unanswered question, it has all been leading to this. God does not allow His chosen ones to walk through fire without a reason. He does not allow battles without a victory on the other side. And what is coming next in your life will make every struggle make sense. The reason the enemy has fought you so hard is because he knows what you are about to step into. He sees what is ahead of you, and he is terrified. The reason you have faced so much opposition is because you are dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. But here is what the enemy doesn't want you to realize. No attack can stop what God has planned for you. No betrayal, no hardship, no delay can cancel the purpose He has set in motion. Look at David. After years of running, hiding, and fighting battles that seemed endless, he finally stepped into his destiny as king. Look at Joseph. After years of slavery and imprisonment, he rose to a position of power that saved an entire nation. Look at Job. After losing everything, God restored him with double of what he had lost. This is the pattern of God. The process is hard, but the promise is greater. And now, it is your time. The same God who raised Joseph out of the prison, the same God who restored Job, the same God who fulfilled every promise to David, He is the same God who is moving in your life right now. He is about to bring clarity where there was confusion. He is about to bring breakthrough where there was struggle. He is about to shift things in a way that only He can. Ephesians 3:20 says, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us." What is ahead of you is bigger than what you have prayed for. It is greater than what you have imagined. And all you have to do is step into it. Write this in the comments. My breakthrough is coming. Declare it over your life. Because your season of preparation is turning into a season of fulfillment. Your struggles are turning into strength. Your trials are turning into testimony. And if you are ready for what comes next, keep watching. Because the conclusion will bring everything together in a way that will change your life forever. Everything you have been through has been leading to this moment. Every challenge, every hardship, every unanswered question, it was all preparing you for what is ahead. You are not here by accident. You are not watching this by coincidence. This is your confirmation. God has chosen you, set you apart, and called you to something greater. Now the choice is in your hands. Will you step into it? There is no more time to wait. No more time to second guess. No more time to let fear hold you back. The signs have been there all along. The battles, the calling, the way you have always felt different. It has all been pointing to this truth. You were created for a purpose that will impact lives, shift atmospheres, and bring glory to God. But purpose requires action. It requires faith. It requires surrender. If this message has spoken to you, do not leave without taking the next step. Inscribe this truth in your heart and in your life. Make a commitment today. If you are ready to fully embrace God's calling, say it out loud, I am chosen. Write it in the comments. Speak it over your life. Let this be the moment where everything changes. Subscribe to this channel and follow Jesus. Do not just watch. Become part of a community that is walking in divine purpose. Turn on notifications so you never miss a word that God has for you. If this message blessed you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose life could be transformed by a simple step of obedience. My name is Oliver, and I am honored to be on this journey with you. I know what it feels like to question, to struggle, to wonder why life seems harder when you are trying to do the right thing. But I also know the power of trusting God's plan. I have seen how He turns pain into purpose, how He takes the broken pieces and creates something greater than we could ever imagine. You are not alone. Thank you for spending this time with me. Know that you are loved, that you are seen, that you are chosen. I pray that as you walk forward, you do so with confidence, boldness, and unshakable faith. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep trusting, keep believing, and never forget, you were made for more.